you are and what you do for Anthem.
Thanks. My name is Emily Taylor. I've been in the game industry about almost 12 years now, and I've been with BioWare for about a year and a half. Been working on Anthem the last year, and I've been specializing in the area of agent quests.
Awesome, awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Emily. In terms of agenda for today, for those of you who don't follow our every tweet with bated breaths, shame on you, you should be doing that. But in case you're not following, today we're going to look at a legendary contract, and we'll explain what that means. We did a poll in the last week of which perspective people wanted to see today, and the vote was incredibly close, but Ranger won. So we're going to play as a Ranger today with a Spark Beam as requested, and a few other weapons we'll talk about as we get there. Community also requested we show some keyboard and mouse control, so I'll be playing that today with keyboard and mouse. For better or for worse for all of us. And outside of that, that's kind of the main agenda. And then anything else that comes up, we'll be answering your questions. Before we dive in and have Emily kind of explain what some of those things were, all the regular disclaimers exist. And we remember to say it this time. The game, while very close to being finished, isn't finished yet. We might see some bugs. We might even see a crash. If we do, we'll just roll with the punches and keep going and keep talking about what we need to talk about. But just keep in mind that the game still isn't finished. If you all have questions, please type them in chat. Jesse is on hand to pull questions out and read them out to us. We're going to do our best to play and talk, so we'll see how that goes. So that's all the opening stuff. I see someone throwing flares in the background. Good job. We also have 2 secret developers with us. We're going to do a full squad of 4 today, and we may reveal who those 2 secret devs are later. But for now, and you can see all them behind, we've got a few friends here. But to kick us off, Emily, why don't you explain, we'll get to what a legendary contract is, but they're given to you by agents. So maybe let's start with, what is an agent in Anthem?
Sure. Well, as you know, there are several factions in Fort Tarsus and, in fact, in the world of Anthem. Some of those are, for example, the Freelancers, the Sentinels, the Arcanists. We've met some of those in your previous live streams. When we were looking at adding more quests into the world, aside from the main storyline, we could have just sort of sprinkled them around the fort, but we thought it would be more fun if you could do smaller quest lines so they could build up to a bit more meaning and help you get to know specific people. So we picked one person in each of the factions that we'll sort of focus on and who will give you those quests. So there are 3 agents for the 3 factions I mentioned, Freelancers, Sentinels, and Arcanists. I actually specialized in Agent Yarrow, who's the Freelancer. Today we're playing one of Matthias, who's the Arcanist, one of his contracts. And through their quest lines, you'll get to know not only a little bit about those people, but also their faction and what their factions stand for. When we talked about Freelancers and what they are and what they do, we actually discussed sort of 3 pillars of what their behavior is. They're heroic, they're warriors, and they're explorers. And we also made the 3 factions and the 3 representatives of those factions sort of echo one of those 3 pillars. So we hope that each faction will feel a little different, but that you'll explore what it means to be a freelancer through each of them.
Awesome. That's great. Thank you. So at this point with Matthias, we've completed his main story. He's given us a regular contract we've completed, and now he's asked us to do a legendary contract. So
exactly.
We put ourselves to level 30. We kind of have mid-endgame gear, so a few epics and rares, maybe a masterwork here or there. So what we might do is just jump into the action. There's several stages to a contract. We might just get through the first one and then take a little break, and we can explain kind of what that was about and how the legendary contract system works.
Sounds
so if
great.
everybody is ready, we might start flying off. So some questions on keyboard and mouse with flight control. I think the team's made a lot of improvements. You can see the mouse movements aren't too crazy. It's pretty easy to get recentered. I can show you guys some of the settings later if that is of interest. And team here, I can't hear the in-game sound. If we could turn that on, that would be great. Hold on 1 second. Okay, there we go. Turns out I turned my headphones off. So good. All right, so A little traversal as a warm-up. There's a lot of tricks with traversal, like trying to skim the water to extend your flight time and looking for waterfalls out in the open. But as we're getting to our first destination, probably one of the questions, Emily, that at least comes up a lot in interviews is, how did we try to design the world so that flight would be possible? So I don't know if you want to talk to that as we approach what looks like an Ursix.
Oh gosh. Actually, I think that might be a better one for you to talk about.
Yep.
I did not have much to do with designing the world. I just put the quests in it. So I can tell you from that point of view, we had a lot of fun making quests that work well with the verticality. But I wasn't actually involved in the decisions of that.
Sure. So I know one of the things we talked about a lot was, in a game full of flight, how does every other part of the game make sense? Creature design, all the way through to building the world and allowing traversal so that you just can't fly over everything. And one of what I think are the most impressive things is, flight not only feels really amazing, but, all the rest of the game, plays well for it. I'm going to also show off right now one of the most requested abilities, which is this guy. Little spark beam.
Oh boy. Okay, that's pretty cool.
Knocked out of the sky. So also on the weapon loadout, we had some questions about this from people. We decided to go with a heavy pistol. So the thing with a heavy pistol is slow rate of fire, but if you can hit weak points, the multiplier for weak point damage is much higher than other weapons. So we need to get all these fragments. So we should probably just split up a little. You can see in the top right our objective. So this is, I think I might actually already have one.
Yeah, I'm just getting one now. So what we're doing, as you can see from the quest helper up at the corner there, is we've come across a Shaper relic. These can be unearthed around the world of Anthem. They're obviously relics left over from the time of the Shapers, and they have fairly unpredictable effects. They can sometimes destabilize and throw off these fragments. When they're unstable, what they do is not only do they sort of summon creatures, what creatures may vary at this time. It seems like it's Scorpidons. I'm just getting blown up by one. Don't mind me. But also, in addition to the creatures that they summon normally, they are very valuable. These are Shaper technology. Who knows what you can learn from them or make them do for you? Everyone is different. So different factions in Anthem are going to be really excited to get their hands on them. Like, that might be Dominions, that might be Scar, that's obviously us. In this case, Matthias will often be very interested when he gets a report of Shaper relics in the world,